Good morning, Red Patriots. Happy birthday, America. Welcome to the 370th consecutive Friday meeting of the East Valley Red Friday Patriots. Thank you for joining us today. And as we celebrate this America 250 and demonstrate our support for America's warfighters, who for 2.5 centuries have stood at the helm in defending our freedom and protecting the American home front. You folks are true patriots and are to be commended for your unyielding support. Hey, can you handle a little Toby Keith this morning? Join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, thank you. I don't know where the hell you guys came from. You came out of the woodwork this morning. We got 110 present this morning. That's outstanding for a summer month and 110 degrees. You know, most of you folks know that here a while back, I was struggling with my voice, and I had a persistent cough for a long time. And I'll tell you, it was a very frustrating experience for me. And during that period, I visited with several physicians trying to identify the culprit that caused me to frequently lose my voice and cough uncontrollably. Well, one of those doctor's visits happened to be with an allergist because I thought that just maybe all of the pollen that we're exposed to here in the valley might be the leading cause of this cough and ultimately the loss of my voice. So after a brief discussion with the allergist, he pulls out a bottle of prescription cough syrup, and he was preparing to give me this cough syrup, and as soon as he told me what it was, I said, "Whoa, doc, no way. I can't stand syrup. That stuff makes me gag, and I want to throw up." Well, the doctor nodded and put the cough syrup away and started to prepare a syringe for an injection. And as soon as I saw that syringe, I really started to backing away from the exam table. And I said, "Wait a minute, doc. You can put that away." I said, "I have a massive phobia to needles, so just put it away." Well, the doctor looked at me rather strangely and he said, "Okay, Mr. Nations, no syrup, no needles. So do you have an objection to taking a pill?" I said, "Not at all. I'm totally fine with pills." So the doc goes to the medicine cabinet and he brings back 3 medium-sized pills and a small cup of water. And I really had no issue with his request, and I swallowed the pills with, a few sips of water. Well, being a somewhat curious man, I asked him, I said, "What are those pills, doc? Some kind of super cough medicine?" He said, "No, those were laxatives." Well, my eyes got kind of wide, and I said, "So, doc, since when does a laxative cure a chronic cough?" He said, "They don't, but in a few minutes, I'll guarantee you'll be afraid to cough." So speaking of doctors, my general practitioner recently retired. And only a few days prior to his retirement, I scheduled an appointment with him, not really to consult on a medical issue, but rather to wish him success in his retirement. And I wanted to thank him for 10 years of taking care of my health needs. During those 10 years, I visited the office countless times and shelled out a lot of money in copay. You know, that out-of-pocket costs for specific covered health care services that's due at the time of service. So as I walked into his clinic, I noticed a brand new sign prominently displayed at the receptionist window. The sign read, "Notice, if I can cure you, you pay me only $20. If I cannot cure you, I'll pay you $100. First time I'd seen the sign. Well, I figured, what the hell? It's time to shine and maybe get back some of that copay before he takes down his shingle. So I got the gears turning in my head, and I came up with what I thought would be a rock-solid plan to cash in. Well, the doc and his nurse came into my patient room, and he gave me his customary greeting and said, "So, Dick, how can I help you today?" I said, "Doc, I can't taste anything anymore. I haven't been able to taste anything in weeks, and I'm really concerned." So my doc promptly tells the nurse to get some medicine from drawer 33. He gave me a spoonful, and I immediately gasped, and I spit it out right there on the floor and made an absolute mess. I said, "Damn, Doc, what the hell? That's kerosene." Well, with this grin on his face, he said, "That's right, and you can now taste again, so that'll be $20 at checkout." I said, "Wait a minute, Doc, wait a minute. I've got another problem I need to talk to you about." I said, "Recently I've been experiencing some memory loss, and it really has me and my wife concerned, especially at my age." My doc said, "Nurse, fetch me some medicine from drawer 33. I said, wait. "No way, Doc. That's the same crap you gave me the last time." Doc said, "Well, Richard, it appears your memory problem is fixed, so that'll be another $20 on checkout." Well, I was quite frustrated with my lack of success in pulling a fast one on my doc, but I wasn't ready to give up. I mean, my motto is, you never fail until you stop trying. So I quickly came up with what I thought was a foolproof last attempt plan. I said, "Doc, I think I'm going blind." I said, "Please, you've got to help me." Well, I was somewhat taken aback when Doc said, "I'm sorry, but I won't be able to cure that." Then he reached in his pocket, he pulled out some bills, and he said, "Here's your $5. I said, "Wait a second, Doc, just wait a second. That's a $5 bill, not 100. Doc said, "Blindness cured. Another $20 on checkout, please." I just can't win for losing. You know, over the past several years, our Red Friday program has been blessed to have numerous members of the Apache Trail Chapter, National Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, join us in our quest to honor America's deployed warfighters and our veterans. The fabulous ladies of DAR have literally added a new dimension to our program. Their support and their promotion of Red Friday has been absolutely stellar. And in so doing, they are furthering the mission of DAR. That being to promote historic preservation, education, and patriotism, to actively engage in community service projects, foster a love of country, support active duty military personnel and veterans, and to honor the memory of American Revolution patriots. And this local chapter of DAR excels in every aspect of their mission. Orchestrating the charge during the past several years is the Apache Trail Chapter's former regent, Kelly McDonald. And upon turning over the gavel earlier this year, the chapter bestowed upon her the title of Honorary Lifetime Chapter Regent, an honor well deserved. Kelly is also an Arizona State DAR America 250 Committee co-chair and an Arizona State America 250 Commission member. In fact, recently, Kelly traveled to Washington, D.C. to participate in DAR's planning of the America 250 celebration. DAR members are descendants of Revolutionary War patriots. So who better than the ladies of DAR to deliver a presentation on some historical people of the Revolutionary era? And joining Kelly this morning is a distinguished DAR chapter member, Dee Hammond. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our own Kelly and Dee.
A lot of histories of the Revolutionary War focus on battles, generals, troops, and the founding fathers, so we've all gotten to know them pretty well. But this presentation explores the war from the perspective of the people who experienced it this time, often in their own words and in printed documents, to show how it affected a wide variety of people. Before battles were fought or declarations were made, American colonists, from the wealthiest merchants to the backcountry farmers, declared their unhappiness with British rule. Beginning in 1760s, Revolutionary War words appeared in pamphlets, newspapers, diaries, and letters. At the time of the Revolution, the American colonies had the world's highest literacy rate. It was close to 90% in New England. Nearly 150 newspapers were in circulation, sharing news from around the globe. Pamphlets and broadsides disseminated ideas and information throughout the colonies. It's important to note that everybody in the colonies, even outside of them in North America, were affected by the Revolution. This included Native populations, Black, both free and enslaved, women, children, and citizens of other countries, such as Spain and France, who were affected. In the privacy of their homes, from cities to the countryside, colonists read newspapers and pamphlets with a diverse array of viewpoints. As the rhetoric of independence increased and war drew closer, approximately only 40% of the colonists favored independence. Some 20% remained loyal to the crown, and the rest were uncommitted to either side, just wanting to live their lives. The newspapers and pamphlets and meeting rooms became the most common way to communicate the ideas of independence.
The founding fathers and others of the time created the language of the Revolution. John Hancock influenced the colonists with his speeches and writings. Their words spread to the rest of the inhabitants, giving them a way to talk about their anger and frustration with Parliament, independence, and war. Citizens gathered in town meetings to discuss British soldiers quartering in their homes, taxes levied by an absent Parliament, and escalating tension in their communities. The Green Dragon Tavern was one place where colonists and John Hancock discussed trade, cultural affairs, and politics. The founding fathers spent a lot of time negotiating with Native American Indian leaders about the future of a new nation. Many of the 80 tribes known at the time struggled to remain neutral or to choose a side that would serve them, and opinions differed even within the same tribe. Many promises were made by both the revolutionaries and the British, but the communities continued to face challenges to their sovereignty and land ownership during and after the Revolutionary War. The Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy was a powerful league of independent tribes in western and upstate New York. They maintained neutrality and called the conflict a, quote, family affair, and they would take no part in it. Eventually, the pressures of war fractures the Six Nations Confederacy, with the Oneida and the Tuscaroras supporting the Americas, and the four other tribes siding with the British, causing a civil war among the Six Nations. One important writer of the Revolution was Phyllis Wheatley. She spent about 13 years of her life enslaved in the colonies, but unlike most enslaved individuals, she received an education and became a writer, purchasing her freedom after publishing a book of poetry in 1773. Many of her poems were political, advocating for rebellion, which put her at risk for capture by the British. Here we see the title page of this book, an engraving of her, and an excerpt of her poem to George Washington. Wheatley was a supporter of American independence. Her poem to George Washington compelled him to respond with a letter of thanks and to have the poem published in newspapers. Often referred to as the poet laureate of the Revolution, Wheatley used her public platform to advocate for and uplift the revolutionary cause. American women were ready when the call came to boycott British goods. In small towns and cities like Edenton, North Carolina, they boycotted tea, imported cloth, and other goods shipped by English merchants. Note the young age of Anna Green Winslow. But boycotts were not the only way women participated in the Revolution. Many times they took up arms themselves during fighting, both with their husbands or by themselves. They were also spies and provided aid and comfort to the revolutionary soldiers. Citizens had many ways to express their support or opposition to the Patriots' cause. They could enlist in a local militia, destroy imported goods, and other symbols of British authority. Christopher Keatley of Lancaster, Pennsylvania, kept his oath of allegiance in this Irish-stitched embroidered wallet. He enlisted in the Continental Army in 1776. Revolutionary supporters took a great risk when pledging their loyalty to the cause. If the war did not end in independence, these oaths would be evidence of treason. Oaths contain several elements: renunciation of the British monarchy, allegiance to the state, and a promise to reveal treasonous activity. When war did break out, there were soldiers in the colonies as young as 14 and as old as 80. The oldest known regular soldier was Samuel Whitmore, 80 years old, and on April 19, 1775, he was shot in the face. Bayoneted 12 times, but he survived and lived to be 96. An estimated 5,000 soldiers fought in the American Revolution. Most black soldiers in New England fought in integrated regiments, except the first Rhode Island. They were made up entirely of black soldiers, 197 in total. Although Britain offered freedom if enslaved people fought for them, it is important to note that slavery was still legal in Great Britain until 1833.
Besides the French, Spain played a significant role in the American Revolutionary War by providing military support, resources, and engaging in key battles against the British forces. Bernardo de Galvez, the governor of Spanish Louisiana, was instrumental. Also during the Revolutionary War, Spanish soldiers were stationed in various regions in California and Arizona, including about 100 in Tucson and Tubac, Arizona. These troops not only defended Spanish territories, but supported the American cause by donating their pay to the revolutionary cause. The Revolutionary era bore witness to the incredible power and volume of the printed word. Phrases such as liberty or death and Join or Die were proclaimed on front pages. Newspapers, pamphlets, and books spread rebellious fervor throughout the colonies. Printers were instrumental in spreading the unified language of independence that emerged during the Revolutionary War. By late 1775, moderate patriots and some loyalists held on to the hope for reconciliation. In early 1776, with the publication of Thomas Paine's pamphlet, Common Sense, Paine's direct and powerful style argued that independence was the only option. By June, 150,000 copies and excerpts in newspapers had an outstanding impact on the population. The printing press facilitated widespread distribution of the Declaration of Independence, and printer John Dunlap produced 200 copies on the night of July 4th, 1776. The Declaration of Independence first appeared on broadsides and in newspapers. It was years in the making and was the final official break with the British Empire. The Declaration, a concise but powerful document, articulated the principles of the American Revolution and carefully presented the reasons for separation with Britain. The 6th Virginia Regiment Order of the Day book was kept between 1776 and 1778. It lists the daily activities of the regiment. The entry for July 24th, 1776 states, quote, "The Declaration of Independence is to be proclaimed tomorrow in the city of Williamsburg, when all the troops of duty are to attend from different corps." End quote. It is easy to forget that the people of the American Revolution were people just like you and I, who wanted nothing more than to live their lives peacefully, raise their families, and enjoy their freedoms. But history put them in a time and place where they had to make a stand. And aren't we all so lucky that they did? That concludes our presentation. Thank you so much.
A lot of tidbits of information that we would have never even been able to find somewhere in a history book. Thank you for delivering some of that information for us. Great presentation. Thank you. I'm sure that everybody in this room would agree with me that it is absolutely great privilege to be an American and enjoy the freedom that so many countries around the world can only envy. Tomorrow, July 4th, America celebrates 250 years of independence from tyrannical rule. We'll have no reservation in expressing our gratitude for the freedom and the liberties fought by the first generation of many American citizens. So let's take a brief stroll back to the era of our country's founding, and let's review a few significant events that were extremely important in the development of this fledgling nation. I want to touch on three of the more important instruments ever penned in the history of mankind. With the July 4, 1776 adoption of the Declaration of Independence, that brilliant statement of philosophical ideas and the formal severing of our political ties with Great Britain, that declaration that we are now proudly celebrating, America was well on its way to becoming a constitutional republic. But not without enormous sacrifice and human toll of the Revolutionary War period that would not officially end until 7 years later in 1783. 1781, 5 years following the signing of the Declaration, with the war actively ongoing, the Articles of Confederation were finally ratified. The Articles laid out the first official framework of government that placed the majority of power in the hands of individual state governments, rather than a centralized national republic. The article served as a league of friendship between the 13 sovereign states. And the colonies functioned under those articles for the remainder of the war until the war officially ended in September of 1783. That was when the United States and Great Britain signed the Treaty of Paris, which recognized American independence. So, year 1787, the nation was transitioning into a new era of peacetime. And instead of fighting a war, delegates to the Constitutional Convention gathered in Philadelphia that same year to write the United States Constitution, which was subsequently ratified in 1788. The Constitution replaced the Articles of Confederation, thereby officially establishing a constitutional republic, a representative democracy, where citizens elect representatives to govern on their behalf. We Americans broadly view the U.S. Constitution as a sacred symbol of liberty and the supreme legal foundation of this country. We see it as the ultimate safeguard of our fundamental rights, and it's a brilliant system of checks and balances. In fact, the Constitution is celebrated as the supreme law of the land, and the concept of a written document limiting government power remains a cornerstone of American political identity. It is the world's primary model for democratic governance. Well, for more than 2 centuries, the United States has continued to evolve. It's gone through what might be referred to as a phased evolution. As an example, if you'll recall, initially, voting rights in this country were highly restricted and often limited to property-owning white men. But the country gradually grew into a broader, modern democracy through subsequent amendments to the Constitution, as well as powerful social movements. Today, the good old US of A functions as both a democracy because the people hold the ultimate ruling power through voting, and a republic because citizens elect representatives to make and enforce laws on their behalf. It's a rock-solid means of governance so long as the people do their job in voting for candidates who will abide by the Constitution. Going back to that revered document, the Declaration of Independence states 3 basic ideas. 1, God made all men equal and gave them the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. 2, the main business of government is to protect those rights. And 3, if a government tries to withhold those rights, the people are free to revolt and set up a new government. Fast forward 250 years from the adoption of the Declaration, and I don't think anyone in this room would doubt that the United States of America still stands superior to any nation on earth, much due to those superbly written instruments of 250 years ago. This nation has been tested time and time again, as it is currently being tested and will continue to be tested by those who simply cannot tolerate the idea of a free society and will stop at nothing to pierce the very fabric of America's core principles. No doubt, it's important to remember what Independence Day means for Americans at home and abroad, especially this year. How incredibly lucky we are that those individuals generations ago were willing to fight and willing to die for freedom and independence. 25,000 patriots gave their lives for independence from Great Britain. And for their sacrifice, we must be eternally grateful. God bless our founding fathers. Bless this phenomenal land we call home. And may God bless America's warfighters and this great nation they are sworn to defend. Happy birthday, America. I want to take this opportunity to recognize one of our R.E.D members who's been a long-standing, ardent supporter of our Red Friday program. Pete Camper, will you come forward, please? Pete has been a regular fixture at our Red Friday assemblies for more than 5 years. And over the past 18 months, Pete tucks away in the back of the room with that camera crew because Pete is the one responsible for monitoring and controlling the audio for our video recording. He does a stellar job at those controls. Well, Pete will be the first to tell you that his association with Red Friday has been one of the most rewarding experiences of his life. As one who has never served in the armed forces, the stories of the men and women who have served make Pete very proud and honored to be a supporter of R.E.D. Pete has stated that he comes away each Friday amazed at the sacrifices that our service members have made and the injustices many have suffered by the very government that took advantage of them. Well, Pete approached me a couple of months ago and relayed the story of his nephew, Michael Camper of Wisconsin, who's crafted some very beautiful hickory American flags inscribed with the Pledge of Allegiance. You see, the artwork displayed in Michael's crafts, these flags, along with other wooden items, he has as a hobby. Now, Michael retired last month following a 30-year career as an electrician. And in his retirement, he will most likely start to manufacture and sell these beautifully crafted hickory flags as a full-time job. So, Michael, asking you here on this video, you retired. Why the hell are you going back into full-time work? Now, Pete and his nephew, Michael, have spoken at length about this Red Friday group. And they want to present one of the flags today to a lucky winner of a raffle in celebration of our country's 250th birthday. Now, these things are heavy. I hope you have a wall that's sufficiently strong enough to hold them up. But isn't that a gorgeous piece of work? That is just absolutely stellar. Pete, I just want to let you know that is an absolutely phenomenal gift on your part, and we are most appreciative of it. We will definitely be getting with the Legion here pretty soon as well for this other. Thank you. Thank you. I do have a few announcements I would like to make before we conclude the program. Nancy Fassbender requested right before the end of June that I sent out a broadcast email about the Christmas in July program for Wreaths Across America. It's a program that allows you to go online for an auction and bid on some absolutely fantastic gifts that have been donated for this worthy cause. I'll be sending out another broadcast on that very shortly this weekend to everyone. So if you've not gone online and participated in this auction, please do so. It's an extremely worthy cause, and we want to give our full support to Nancy and the Wreaths program. So expect that announcement to be coming out via email again this weekend. Also, I want to advise that we do have guest speakers scheduled through the month of September. So please, 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 as you have done today, we would appreciate your support for these folks that make preparation to come out here and address our group. I would like for Claire Steiner to come forward. Claire is the individual that has that beautiful Corvette outside that all of us are going to be able to put our John Henrys on. And I don't understand why somebody would take a beautiful Corvette and put signatures all over it, but there's got to be a reason behind that.
Thank you. I go all over the United States to give back. The way I give back is to let veterans sign. And I have over 16,000 veterans have signed my cars over the 20 years. As I do this, I collect money for the wounded warriors, and I've collected over $20,000 for them. Today is an honor to let everyone in here sign my car. What you do is print your name, branch, and year served on my car. Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you know somebody deployed and you want to sign their name, please do so. Also with your own. These signatures that will be put on today will be going with me to 8 different states. I leave July 12th to go to the South Dakota Black Hills Corvette Classic, where there'll be 12,000 other Corvettes show up in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. But your name will be on there for that whole trip till I get back. And you'll say, well, what happens then? Well, I take pictures. Every name that I get, I take pictures of and archive them. And right now, they're in the Corvette Museum in Bowling Green, Kentucky. There's 10,000 names of veterans that signed my car.
Wow. Beautiful.
This does mean a lot to me. And I just want to get back and thank you. We'll see you outside, and we're going to have a picture after you all sign, so don't run away. Have a great day.
And as a final reminder, let's not overlook the importance of our Red Friday mission to keep our deployed warfighters in our thoughts and prayers, and to continue to demonstrate our support for these fine men and women. Please keep in mind that it is patriotism that unites us. Happy birthday, America. Enjoy your weekend.